Welcome to Android Development Environment session. In this session, we are discussing about configuring Android Development Environment. Under that, we are go through downloading and installing the Android Studio and also configure Android SDK for Android development. First, let's look at the downloading and installing the Android Studio. In here, you can see that I have navigated to developer.android.com/studio/index.html. This is the default URL which you could download the Android Studio. In the bottom of this page, you can see system requirements. You should have to go through these requirements and make sure you have at least this requirement in your computer before starting the Android development. So I'm starting the download. And once I click the link, you can see that terms and conditions are appearing here. So I am ticking that I have read and agree with the above terms and condition and click download Android Studio for Windows link. So once I clicked, I have been redirected to Android Studio installation guide and click save file in here. Now Android Studio setup file is downloaded. I am clicking downloads and opening the exe file to install the Android Studio. In the wizard, I am clicking next to begin the Android Studio installation. In here we have two options, one for Android SDK and another one for Android virtual device. I have been ticked both of these options and then clicking next to install both of them. So I am clicking agree for license agreement and selecting default locations for both Android Studio and Android SDK installations. So once I click next, it is asking me for start menu folder and I am not modifying anything in here and just clicking the install option. It will take some time to install entire Android Studio and SDK in our computer. Installation is now completed and I am click next button in wizard to complete the setup. So once I click finish, Android Studio will start. So in here you can see that installation completion dialog is in there and asking if I have any previous installations of Android Studio. So as I don't have any previous installation, I am clicking I do not have a previous version option and then clicking OK. So once I click OK, Android Studio is opening up. In first, Android Studio setup wizard is appearing again. In here we have guided wizard to set up the rest of the Android Studio setup. In here we are selecting standard option to install most common settings and options for general Android developments. And then I am clicking next. As we didn't change anything in the installation wizard, this SDK folder location can be remain as it is. So I am clicking finish option in here. So once it finished, Android Studio setup startup wizard is trying to update the Android SDK and here it is showing as SDK is up to date. So I am clicking finish option to complete the wizard. Now Android Studio welcome page is appear and here we can start a new project by clicking start a new Android Studio project. I am just going new project wizard by clicking next. Now my application is opened up and tips dialog is showing in here. So I am unticking the show tips on startup and clicking the close of the tip dialog. So in here you can see that project dialog is in there and you can see the project structure. And now it is ready for Android application development by changing the application and implementing your own code. Now let's look at how to configure Android SDK further and download and install latest SDK platform versions into the Android SDK. Once I open the Android Studio, you can see that there are various tool options in there. In here we have tool icon like this and if you hover that icon, it is showing that SDK manager. So I am clicking that SDK manager option and you can see what are the installed SDK platforms in my system. If I want to install any other platform in my system, what I need to do is select the required Android platform and then click apply option. At the same time, you can select SDK tools which are needed to use for Android development, and also you can configure Android SDK update sites if you are willing to use any third-party update site for platforms or SDK tools. For the moment, we don't need to change any of these, and we are good to go with developments with current configuration. So thank you very much for watching this video, and this video has been prepared with the support of Commonwealth of Learning.